Cheat Code. Support Strategist by Clouds. Man of the Clouds not coming down. On AO3. Chapter 73. Miscommunication. Izuku and Mei had run until they had found some place relatively safe to set up camp. Well, maybe the lobby of an abandoned apartment building wasn't necessarily safe, but it was far enough away from the mall that Shigaraki's decay wouldn't be able to reach them, and a random enough location that Kirigiri would have a hard time finding them. At least, that's what Izuku was counting on. Izuku's laptop was still connected to the security feed from the mall, and the first thing he saw when he opened up the screen again was a portal opening above the fountain. He gulped and looked at Mei. We were right. Mei nodded grimly. They can't seal off all the exits, right? Not while the fire alarms are going off. Izuku cracked his neck and scooted closer to the screen. At least not easily, but if they try, I'll know. How's 1A doing? Mei grabbed for Izuku's phone and opened the group chat. About half the class has responded since Extra Credit Kun has added cheat code, and now Mama says that the lizard guy who just came through the portals is named Spinner. Most likely the new hero killer, judging by the katana, Izuku said absently. Wait, isn't that where Hitoshi was? I think we need to call Nezu again. Hitoshi stared at the lizard guy, Spinner, as he screamed out his challenge. He didn't have permission to brainwash him. He only had permission to help civilians right now, not fight the villains. He was also pretty sure that Todoroki had been upstairs with Shigaraki when the portal had appeared, which was pretty much all the proof they needed that it was him who had given the League their location and created the opening for this attack. He can't afford to worry about that right now, though. Todoroki still believed his cover was secure, which meant that he wouldn't risk attacking them directly. That meant that the biggest threats were from Kirigiri and Shigaraki. Spinner, and another villain named Trapper that his adults mentioned was working with the League as well. And those only were the ones currently brandishing a sword at him. Spinner glared at him as he hopped down from the fountain, sword in hand. You're one of those UA brats, aren't you? I recognize you from the sports festival. Are you a true hero, or just another one of those fakes? Hitoshi swallowed but didn't move. The heroes were already on their way before the portals even appeared, which meant they had somewhere between 5 to 10 minutes before someone showed up to help them. Less, if they were lucky. That should be well within the window of time where Hitoshi could activate his quirk without taking full control of his target. With half a mind, Hitoshi stepped forward, smirking sharply as he spread his arms wide. I don't know, maybe I'm a fake, or maybe I'm just that awesome. How would you know either way? Spinner's hands tightened on his sword. I will cut the fakes. If you survive, then perhaps you deserve the title of a true hero. Hitoshi smirked, widened. Bingo. Ochako had developed a new application for how hard Izuku worked. Kirigiri had appeared in the plaza less than a minute after she'd finished telling 1A about Shigaraki, and she had the brilliant idea to follow him before she realized just how hard it was to track a teleporter. Unlike Mei and Izuku, she didn't have any fancy tech to help her out, and even though she came across several times at the USJ, she never actually touched him, which meant that she couldn't anchor to him directly. Instead, she was having to rely on tracking him visually, which so far basically came out to a large-scale game of whack-a-mole. Every time she saw a wisp of purple smoke, she had to find her nearest classmate, anchor to them, and just estimate to try to get close to him. She kept him too busy to be able to warp any other villains in, though, so that was something, at least. She hadn't managed to get close until Kirigiri did a shorter jump than usual, and he accidentally got in close enough to Sero that Ochako didn't even have to think about it before she was right next to him and reaching out for his neck armor, only for her fingers to close around thin air as he disappeared again. I'm afraid I cannot let you do that, Kirigiri said smoothly, appearing behind her. Your quirk allows you to teleport anyone you've touched, correct? I'm sure you can understand why that might be inconvenient for someone in my position. Ochako growled and lunged for him, but again she was left only with a fistful of purple smoke. Well, that's frustrating. How did he even know? Izuku facepalmed as he watched Hitoshi walk toward the villain with a massive sword. Why do you pick that one? Because he's going to be an amazing hero if he lives, May growled. What in the world is he thinking? Most likely that he can establish a connection with his quirk and activate it as soon as the hero is given permission, Izuku sighed. And it looks like Ochako is chasing Kurogiri. They're both going to get in trouble if the heroes don't get there soon. Or if they don't get permission to fight. May already had her phone in hand. We're going to call Nezu again, anyway. She put the phone on speaker and let it ring until Nezu answered, which didn't take very long after all. Hello, children. How goes the evacuation? It looks like about half the civilians are out of the mall, Izuku reported. But they're going faster now that the rest of the league has shown up. Oh, no. Nezu hummed. That's no good. We already have several heroes on their way. Hawks is approximately 3 minutes away. He wasn't in the area, but his faster speed means he'll make it there faster than some of the heroes who were supposed to be closer. Can those hero students hold out until then? Not without permission to defend themselves, May snapped. The crazy sword guy who got his eye on Extra Credit Kun and Gravity Girl is the only one who's going to be able to keep up with Kurogiri, and I understand why I can't give children full permission to use their quirks, Miss Hatsume, Nezu said firmly. But if one of you get hurt, or worse, hurts someone else, then that could be disastrous, not only for the students involved, but UA as a whole. May looked livid. But that's not to say that I am willing to leave our students completely helpless, Nezu cut in quickly. However, the permission you need to be conditional. I can authorize them to defend themselves against direct attacks, but they cannot initiate. Will that do? It'll have to. Izuku snatched up his phone from the floor and sent a message to the group chat. Done. Now let's hope they don't get the need to use it. Hitoshi stared at Spinner, down, and tried to think of his next move. He wasn't allowed to activate his quirk yet, which meant that he had to actually survive long enough for the heroes to show up and give him permission to brainwash this idiot. That was going to be easier said than done, considering that his opponent had a sword and that he had to rely on sharp tongue and ridiculously good looks. Also, Spinner had just threatened to kill him, obviously just to keep it interesting. This day just kept getting better and better, didn't it? So how was he going to get out of this without becoming a shikabob? This guy was obviously obsessed with worthliness, so he might have some underlying ideology that Hitoshi could take advantage of and keep him talking instead of fighting. He also needed to make sure that he did at least one weird thing to throw his opponent off and keep him from connecting brainwashing to answering a question, because he did not need the League of Villains figuring out his quirk activation requirements. Okay, easy as pie. Hopefully. Hitoshi kept smirking at Spinner as he shrugged. I mean, there's gotta be a more effective way of seeing if I'm a hero than stabbing me and seeing if I die. Like, what's a true hero even like? Maybe we could come up with a better test? All Might was the one, only true hero. Spinner narrowed his eyes. Are you saying we just come up with a test to see if you're worthy as a symbol of peace? Hitoshi whistled lowly. Whoa, that's a tall order. I can't say I'm exactly on All Might's level, but hey, we're bound to share some similarities, right? You're the one holding the sword, so I guess it's up to you to decide if I get close enough. He let out a breath of relief, when Spinner gave a short nod. Ochako would probably be better at this than he was, considering that she was literally All Might's successor. But she was busy right now, so Hitoshi was just going to have to do it. Now, he managed to turn the fight into a friendly chat, or about as friendly as it was going to get, so the next step was just to be as confusing as possible. He nodded in satisfaction and walked towards the fountain. He hung around his kidnappers for fun. He could manage a little chaos. Spinner pulled his sword. What are you doing? Well, I figured if we're going to have a serious discussion, we should probably sit down. Hitoshi shrugged and put one foot into the water. This seems as likely as a place as any. Spinner blinked, his sword wavering as he watched Hitoshi pull his phone and wallet out of his pockets, and then put them on the side of the fountain. In a fountain. Hitoshi hummed, an affirmation, as he sat down, suppressing a shiver from the cold water as he looked up at Spinner. Why not? All the cool kids are doing it to help get the brain juice flowing. Spinner hesitated for a moment longer, unsure if he was supposed to go along with it or just walk away before shearing his sword and joining Hitoshi in the fountain. Very well. Tell me, young hero, how are you like All Might? Well, let's start with the fact that I want to save people. Hitoshi leaned back, the water splashing slightly as he put his hands down to support himself. What other qualities am I supposed to have? Let's see if I mash up. Okay, let's see. We have 2 reckless students going kind of out of, direct orders. Yeah, no, that pans out for My Hero Academia and Class 1A. Troublemakers they are. I understand why Aizawa calls them problem children. I want to call them problem children. But Hitoshi has done a really good job at calming down Spinner enough to have a talk with him so that it buys time, which, wow, nice, that's cool. He's learning. He's learning. I'm proud. As for Uraraka, how did Kurogiri figure that out? That's my question. What information have been... Oh, right. Trapper. I'm like, how did they find out? What is, the mystery behind that? Trapper. I'm stupid. Never mind. Scratch that note. We are getting dangerously close to the end. And it's sad and upsetting. But I'm gonna probably cry when this ends, because this is my longest series. Cheat Code Support Strategist will always stay dear to my heart. Maybe not because of the quote-unquote well-written part of it, because this is a really well-written thing, and it's a really interesting premise and stuff like that, but just simply because this fanfic is, one of my longest ones, and I'm gonna be talking about it for a while now. In every end, it's coming, and I don't want it to come. I don't want it to end. I don't. It might not be my most well-liked series, I will say that. It did start off strong, but then, kind of died out as it went. It's quite a long series. I've had this series for 6 months now. I understand why some people didn't want to wait. But, wow. Yeah, no, this series is wonderful and amazing, and I love it so much, But, yeah. As always, my raindrops, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds. Have a wonderful day or night. Link to my socials and Discord server is down in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content, and thank you so much for watching.